it just seems like we have more coach firings than we have openings. I don't understand how every single week, 3 consecutive weeks now. It started with maybe it's me. Maybe it's this show. Since we started doing this show 4 weeks ago, James Franklin, Billy Napier, and now Brian Kelly has been fired as head coach of the LSU Tigers. Matt Fortuna has done a really good job. Friend of mine, colleague of mine. I used to work with him on Live on the Line. He's kind of been someone I've been paying close attention to during this because he has a lot of good inside sources. And I want to read you a tweet that he posted yesterday afternoon, which kind of sums up the reason why this firing happened so quickly. Because I'll be honest, I did not think this one was a surprise. James Franklin, also kind of a surprise. Billy Napier was not a surprise. This, of the 3 firings, though, I think this one was the biggest surprise. Because the buyout was just so freaking big. And I want to read you this tweet by Matt Fortuna, which is detailing the debate between Brian Kelly and Scott Woodward, who's the AD of LSU. So per sources, the crux of the Scott Woodward-Brian Kelly showdown stems from a meeting yesterday, in which the AD asked Kelly to fire OC Joe Sloan. Kelly said he would then fire offensive line coach Brad Davis, which did not go over well with Woodward. I guess Woodward and Brad Davis have some kind of intimate relationship. And then Kelly left the building. And then moments after that, Governor Jeff Landry meeting with LSU's Board of Supervisors about the futures of both the AD and the head coach. So that was it. Brian Kelly walked into his boss's office the day after getting absolutely de-pantsed by A&M. And that game was embarrassing. That was an embarrassing performance by LSU, especially in the second half. They basically quit. And then all of a sudden, the disagreement happens, and Brian Kelly's gone moments later. Here's the irony of this. Joe Sloan also got fired this morning. So the AD got what he wanted. I guess Brian Kelly didn't want to fire the OC. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there. I don't follow the LSU program that closely. And then all of a sudden, Kelly gets fired, and then the OC gets fired this morning. I have no idea who's going to be calling plays. Actually, I take that back. I do. I think it's going to be the tight ends coach I saw going to be calling plays for LSU. They do have a week off, and then they play Bama. I don't know if they have a week off. They might be playing Bama this week. I don't think so. I don't think they would do this. They don't play Bama until next week. So they're on the bye this week. And then they play Alabama at night on November 8th. Good luck in that game. Bama's going to be a massive favorite in that game. But now Brian Kelly, again, there are 12 openings in college football right now across the FBS world. Later in the show, I'm going to rank the top 8 because I think some of them are better than others. And I'll give you predictions. I don't know who all of them are going to hire, but I'll give you predictions for who I think the top dogs are going to hire, right? It's Stanford, it's UCLA, it's Virginia Tech, it's Oklahoma State, it's Kent State, it's Arkansas, it's Oregon State, it's Penn State, UAB, Florida, Colorado State, LSU. I have no idea who Colorado State's going to hire. Absolutely no idea. I have an idea who LSU might be looking at. I have an idea who Florida might be looking at. I think I know who Penn State might be looking at. In fact, I got a DM last night from shout out Huskers, X's and O's. Been following me for a long time. He's big on the message boards. A Penn State message board post caught my eye last night, and I'll get to that a little bit later in the show. I also want to give a shout out to Lauren Beasley for this tweet because I just had to mention it. Lauren covers SEC football down there in the South Carolina region. She's mostly Gamecocks and Tigers, Clemson Tigers, but she obviously covers a lot of the SEC. And she posted this morning. The college football coaching carousel, fired coaches and buyouts so far this season. Brian Kelly, $53 million. James Franklin, $49 million. Billy Napier, $21 million. Mike Gundy, $15 million. Sam Pittman, $9 million. Brent Pry, $7 million. Deshaun Foster, $6 million. Trent Bray, Oregon State, $4 million. UAB Trento for $3 million. Colorado State, Jay Norvell, $1.5 million. The total buyouts for the head coaches, just the head coaches, almost $170 million. This year, $170 million. just for fired head coach buyout money. What did we say on last week's show? College football is the love child of ballers and billions. It's all about the swag. It's all about the money. It's all about what have you done for me lately. And unfortunately, Brian Kelly just got voted off the show last night. You cannot make up. You wonder why college football is asking for private capital money. We get a couple more of these big-time head coach firings. They might be asking the government for a bailout. That's how much money is required to run these programs. I think certain firings, the buyouts, right? There's wiggle room with, if James Franklin gets another job, and I think he's going to get another job. In fact, I think it's probably going to happen within the next couple weeks. Penn State won't be on the hook for all that money. So I'm not saying all of this money will be paid out. And it's an annual sum, so it's over time. You stretch that money out, it's not as bad. The big number is just a clickbait item. But it is wild to me how much money these fired head coaches are getting paid. I wish that people paid me this much money to not do my job. My life would be a lot easier. Before we get started with the NFL and college football recaps from the weekend, please subscribe to the channel. Please support the content. We had a really good week in terms of, right, like I do this show and then I cut it up and clip it and I'll post it, throughout the week. I'll post it on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. I'll post all the clips and then we'll, recycle the clips as we go forward. That's the goal of the show. The goal of the show is to put stuff on tape every week that we can then call back to in later weeks and say, man, we're on it. If you were watching the show that week, you'd have been right on the mark. But that means I need your help because the more people subscribe, the more people click, the more eyeballs will see the show. So if you like anything you see today, if you laugh at all today, if you learn anything today, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. I'm getting close to 500 subscribers on YouTube, and then I can start to monetize. And that, of course, is the goal. I still have some really fun stuff in the works. Hopefully some partnerships and some distribution deals, which will blast this show out to a wider audience. How about last week? Again, the NBA betting scandal, which we're not going to get to on the show because it's kind of old news at this point. But ABC News asked me to do a segment. How about that? My mom got to watch ABC News, which she watches usually anyways. And there I am doing an interview with Kira Phillips. Very big day for me and my career, which was really fun. Shout out to the folks at ABC News there in New York for remembering my work. It was an old colleague that I worked with at New York One who remembered my work and was impressed with my sports and my betting work here in Vegas. And when the betting scandal broke, big news story, they called me and they asked me to hop on and do an interview. And I thought it went well. So I posted it on all my channels. Feel free to. I should post it on the YouTube channel. I should. But it really has nothing to do with the morning after. I'm trying to keep my eyes focused on the ball here as we move forward with the show. Also, if you're watching live, I only see 3 people watching. But if you're watching live, you want to comment, I do have the YouTube chat open. If you have a question, I will do my best to get to it at some point during the show. Okay, let me pivot here. And we move to what I think is the most intriguing part of the show, and that is all of these head coaching job openings. So I just mentioned all of the schools that have head coach openings in college football this year, right? I'm going to rank them because I think it helps me out with trying to figure out where these guys might land. So LSU is my number 1 opening right now. I mean, I think they are on par with a Bama, with a Georgia, with an Ohio State. Maybe even Oregon, I think, is kind of close, but I still think because of the location in the Pacific Northwest, a little bit harder. So I put Oregon maybe like a rung below. But LSU is number 1. They have the most resources. They are, in my opinion, the best position to win now if they get the right guy in. Way more than Penn State, way more than Florida, just because of the roster and the resources available to them. I think LSU is going to be a job that everyone's going to take that call outside of like a Kirby Smart or a Kalen DeBoer or maybe a Ryan Day. I think everyone, or maybe even a Sark too, although Sark, the Sark stuff with the Titans is interesting. I don't think that's real. I think it was maybe a whisper to try to get him a raise. because all these coaches seem to be leveraging, right? All the coaches are leveraging these coaching firings to get a better salary, right? So, like Kurt Cignetti was, chef's kiss with Kurt Cignetti. I'm sure Penn State called and he said, "Hey, agent, go tell Indiana Penn State called and get me a raise." And he got a raise. And I'm assuming that's what happened with Sark. Sark's probably seeing all these coaches getting fired, getting raises. He's like, "Hey, agent, go whisper to Texas that I'm interested in the Titans and see what Texas does." And he was upset that it got out. I think it was Diana Rossini who posted it, and he blasted Rossini in his post-game presser after a very, very tight win against Mississippi State over the weekend. So LSU's the number one job. I think Penn State's too. I do. And maybe that's my homer bias, but I think Penn State's slightly ahead of Florida. I do. I think Penn State, because of their willingness to spend, the fact that they're not in the SEC, which means it's not as tough of a road. Like, you could conceivably drop a head coach in there, continue to build this roster, which they've done very nicely. I mean, the roster is about as expensive as any roster in college football and talented. You need a quarterback, but you can go find one, right? Look at what Indiana just did with Fernando Mendoza. Plucked him out of Cal, and now he looks like a Heisman candidate. So if you get the right coach and you've got the resources behind you, and let's say James Franklin goes to Auburn, right? Or Florida or one of those schools. That's assuming Hugh Freeze gets fired, which I think, even though he kind of saved his job over the weekend, I wouldn't be shocked if eventually that fell off. It was Arkansas, and they needed just an incredible performance from their offense to get across there. I think Penn State's number 2. I do. I think Florida's 3, right? I think it's close. Frankly, I think you could flip flop those, and I wouldn't really push back too hard. Florida obviously has all the resources. They're in the SEC. They're in a recruiting hotbed. They've been very quick to spend big money on coaches, right? Dan Mullen, Napier, like they're obviously very willing to spend. So I think Penn State and Florida 2-3. It's really 2A, 2B, but I'll give Penn State the slight edge because they don't play in the SEC. And if their roster is on par with Florida's, you would think Penn State's got a better chance to be in the playoff because, again, a little bit of an easier road. Oklahoma State's 4, and the reason why they're so high is because of all the oil money they got down there. And I wouldn't put them at – I had someone push back. I tweeted out these rankings last night. I had someone push back that Oklahoma State should be higher. I just think because you play in the Big 12, it's just not as sexy of a job. That's just how I feel. I think the resources are there. They're probably better resources, frankly, than Florida and Penn State. Again, I think the deep pockets for that oil money and Boone Pickens and all that money down there. But I just think the conference and the situation's a little bit lower. So I put Oklahoma State 4. Arkansas 5, SEC, but not a prolific SEC job. Then I've got UCLA 6, Virginia Tech 7, Stanford 8. Bottom of the rankings aren't as exciting. But I do think there will be some really good candidates for those jobs, especially UCLA. I think UCLA's got a chance, guys. They've got a really good roster. Nico's a stud. We'll see what they do at quarterback next year. But I think UCLA, like if they can get Nico to go there and play, and if they can get some of these, they got some really good players in the NFL, right? The Latu kid got drafted last year. So, UCLA's done a good job of bringing some talent to high levels. And we'll see what move they make in the Big Ten, right? I think that makes it a more attractive job. You got a lot of Big Ten money there, so I definitely put the Big Ten jobs ahead of the ACC jobs for sure. Virginia Tech and Stanford, just a little more niche. So there's your college football coaching carousel. It is spinning round and round. Remember last week, I said forget everything you think you know about the college football coaching search. Throw it out. We're in a completely different world. There is significant amounts of private capital money flowing in. That means these ADs are fine with just cutting these guys a check and saying, see you later. We don't want you anymore. And we've seen 3 whopper buyouts this year. I mean, the Brian Kelly and James Franklin, two buyouts over $100 million is just, I mean, obviously these ADs do not care about money when it comes to throwing these coaches to the curb.